Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for listening to the 219th ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the Revel Advertising Studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How are you doing today, Kyle?
I'm doing great, Cameron. How are you?
I'm doing well.
I heard you made a purchase today.
Yeah, well...
Big one.
Yes. Now...
Not like...
Don't tell my wife.
Okay.
Well, she knows. We don't... she knows. But...
I won't say anything.
But still don't tell her.
Yeah.
Just don't bring it up.
I happened to be at Target, and they had an Xbox Series X sitting there, so I bought it. Because I've been trying to play Call of Duty, and my Xbox was lagging behind. And I don't have to tell you that because you're in the same boat.
That antiquated technology.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm tired of getting in games and then they're like halfway over, you know? So whenever you said there was an Xbox at Target, I went to Target.com and also bought one. So we are just upgrading today.
What does that say about us that like companies only need to market to like one of us and then to just rope the other one in?
Well, did you have a good experience?
At Target?
Yeah, because, you want to have a good experience, and then you tell your friends
I'll be completely honest. The box that my Xbox came in was a little roughed up. Some dents in the cardboard box. And
just tossing it around, huh?
It made me a little nervous, but got it home, set it up. Setup was a breeze.
Great.
Looks great. Yeah, actually, I take that back. It's kind of ugly. It's a massive thing.
The console itself? Oh.
And it's made to be sat upright, like this tall.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that.
It's got things where you can set it on its side, but it's still just a massive thing. Kind of ugly under the TV.
Does it fit in your display?
Yeah. I think it's got enough breathability.
Safely behind all the pillows?
Yeah. Yeah, we have to make a wall so that my daughter doesn't get in there. She likes to just press the buttons.
I understand that.
Yeah, so let's get this episode over with so I can go play video games.
Yeah, sounds good.
What do we have to talk about today? We've got basketball has officially started. We had a classic heartbreaking loss to Kentucky in football, and we play a top 5 team in Tennessee. So things are looking up. Before we get into all that, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, leave us a review, and you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Missouri Sports Pod. Let's start off with basketball. The Missouri Tiger basketball team beat Southern Indiana 97-91. Kyle, your starters for game 1 were Nick Honor, Demoy Hodge, Golston, Carter, and Kobe Brown.
Oh, I thought you were telling me like those are the starters that I guessed. I was
No,
like, hey,
no,
I did
no,
pretty
no,
good.
no.
Yeah,
Those were the official starters.
Yeah, I was a little surprised by. I guess Golston was maybe probably one of the bigger surprises, but
No Mosley.
No Mosley. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the biggest surprise probably.
Yeah, I thought, we've been kind of trying to find who's going to be the odd man out of the rotations and stuff, and it's a little bit pointless to do that, especially when Coach Gates announced like he has 8 guys that he thinks can start, and he's going to be using 11 or 12 guys.
It might be nobody that gets left out. Like
right.
Everybody's going to play at least a little bit.
Surely at some point in the season, the rotations will clear themselves up a little bit, but that was an interesting game. I think there were 5 players in double figures scoring. Kobe Brown, 20 and 14, double-double. Offense looked good despite not shooting well from 3 and not getting to the free throw line. They still scored 97 points. Defense in the first half was okay. I thought there was some defensive breakdowns on rotations and switches and stuff, leaving open shooters. But also, Southern Indiana just went crazy from 3 in the second half. I think 14 of 17 in the second half.
Yeah, something they'll probably not do again all year, and Missouri will probably never see something like that happen all year.
Yeah, that's what actually Coach Gates in the post-game press conference said. 14 of 17 in one half. He was like, I don't think you'll see that in another game all season from any team in a half.
Yeah, clearly Missouri can be playing better defense, but that is just completely an outlier performance from Southern Indiana.
The Screaming Eagles.
Screaming Eagles.
Was there anything that stuck out to you? Kobe Brown looked good, looked athletic. There was a lot of dunks from Missouri in this game.
Yeah, I definitely feel like the team is a lot more athletic than they've been in the last few years. I think everybody probably would have guessed that, though. I think Noah Carter looked good. Demoy Hodge looked good as well. I think Demoy Hodge is just going to be like the most prototypical like 3-and-D guy that you could possibly ask for. Just like good size, good shooter, good wingspan. So tough on the perimeter, really on both sides of the ball. Very little Diarra, if any Diarra at all. So I think that was maybe one guy we penciled in as just he might just have to start or he might just have to play because of where
his height
positionally he plays. But that's not going to be the case, I don't think. And not a lot of DeGray either, Ronnie DeGray. So looks like it's going to be Noah Carter, Kobe Brown down low, a lot of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, from this just one game, we're gonna try not to read too much into things from one game, but I think it's pretty clear that interior defense is gonna. I mean, anybody could have predicted that, but seeing Kobe and Noah Carter be like your post players offensively, not the end of the world. Defensively, I think might be a struggle.
That's an issue. Nothing that's really too surprising to us. I think we knew that. I think they looked for a transfer big and didn't really get it, like more of a traditional big, and didn't find one. So I think the point guard play, though, I think is going to be maybe the highlight of the team, honestly.
I was going to bring that up.
Sean East and Nick Honor are going to be really good, and it's like a night and day difference from watching, Konzo Martin teams from the past couple of years where it's just basically we don't have a point guard to we have two really capable point guards who can score too. It's really exciting.
Yeah, they had remarkably similar stat lines in this game. Nick Honor, 23 minutes. He started 23 minutes, 10 points, made a 3, 5 assists, 1 turnover. Sean East, 23 minutes, 12 points, made a 3, 5 assists, 1 turnover. That's remarkable point guard play. Obviously, inferior opponent, but that's a good way to start things out.
For sure.
I thought that offensively, just not super efficient. Some questionable shot selection throughout. Obviously, they were cold from 3. Like Coach Gates said, Noah Carter being 0 for 4 from 3 he doesn't think that's going to happen again. So, obviously, we expect better than 25% from 3 moving forward.
Yeah. Something about Mizzou Arena or something at this point. I don't know.
Yeah, we got to
what's going on?
Shake that up a little bit.
We've had like several years in a row of like terrible 3-point shooting.
Yeah, hopefully that's a low point.
I think that will certainly improve, definitely.
Let's talk about Isaiah Mosley. Quiet game, only played 16 minutes, 4 points. 0 for 3 on 3-pointers. Pretty quiet. 2 steals. He had a couple possessions early on where he was doing the things that we expect. Like his 4 points came on almost back-to-back possessions in the first half. Made a tough 2-point shot. And then, I don't know, there was a possession where he brought the ball up, didn't pass the ball, took a step back 3 that was pretty off, and then he immediately came out of the game. So I was worried a little bit that we might get a little bit too much of the Mosley ISO show, but I think we saw in game 1 that if he's going to be making bad decisions with the ball, he's not going to be on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, before the season started, I think that was definitely a question I had was like, what is Mosley's usage going to look like? Because he's coming from a situation at Missouri State where his usage was unbelievably high, like probably top 10, top 20 in the country as far as possessions ending with Mosley doing something, whether it's scoring or turning the ball over. A lot of possessions were ending with Mosley. And, I mean, he has the ability to take over games at really any level, and he probably will have moments like that, but it is going to be different. It's going to be an adjustment for him, and he is, going to be held to a little bit different standard. if he's playing a little out of control, he's going to get pulled, and that's what happened. And maybe he'll get a little bit longer leash as the season goes on, but a lot of new faces and a lot more talent around him than he's used to playing with, and he's going to have to share the ball a little bit, and that's just an adjustment. Just having to rely on the talent around him he's going to have to do that.
Yeah, and he'll figure it out, and I'm not really worried at all. He looked so good on those 2 scoring plays.
Right.
We can expect a lot more of that. I think he'll have plenty of minutes, plenty of shot attempts. I don't think there's a concern there. And leading up to this first game, he and the coaching staff were talking about how much he has dedicated to defense and rebounding.
Mm-hmm.
And Coach Gates has said about like 3 different guys how good they are at finding open teammates. He said that about Mosley. He said that about Kobe Brown, that each of them can lead the team in assists on any given night.
Yeah. Could be a little bit of nerves, too. I feel like especially in their first exhibition game, I feel like Gates mentioned that they were nervous. And for Mosley especially, he's coming back home and there's high expectations, and just playing for Mizzou, the team he grew up rooting for and all that stuff. I mean, they're not robots. And
yeah.
They have human emotions, and I'm sure there's something to that where he's just going to have to get used to playing for the home team again. Or not again, but just in general. He's going to have to get used to that.
Trying to see if anything else.
Aiden Shaw.
Yeah.
He was impressive.
Yeah, honestly, if we were talking about like interior defense, his length and athleticism is going to play a factor there.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to be, it's still going to be a struggle. He's not built for it yet, but I'm very optimistic about his floor right now and then his development.
Yeah, I mean, we knew his athleticism is off the charts, obviously, but it was good to see him kind of down low, banging around a little bit. I think he's gonna be forced to have to play pretty often. He's gonna have to play a lot of minutes this year, I think, just because of his size and because there's not a lot of depth down low. He's honestly one of the taller guys on the team, probably.
And he made a 3.
And he did. Yeah.
Yeah, I was impressed with him. I mentioned the athleticism and the dunks. I think he had 2. I think Kobe had 3. Hodge had a dunk. Noah Carter had at least 1.
Yeah, he had a huge dunk.
Yeah. They, at times, were really making Southern Indiana look like the inferior opponent that they were.
Mm-hmm.
And
especially early on, I felt like it was dominant.
Yeah, there was they started out 9-0 run, and then there was a stretch like late first half, early second half, I feel like, where they pulled away, and it was a 20-point game for a little while before Southern Indiana just went crazy from 3. But yeah, don't like to see them give up 91 points, but 14 of 17 from 3 in the second half. What are you going to do? Trey Gomillion played quite a bit. He looked really good. He did exactly what Coach Gates has been talking about, just like a solid on-ball defender, good decision maker. He's not going to win you a game, but he's not going to do anything to lose the game either.
Yeah.
Really, everybody that came in contributed something. We needed somebody to get hot from 3 to like put it away in the second half, but
yeah, I mean, we kind of saw exactly what we hoped to see, expected to see with a lot of players. Preseason, like you mentioned, it was kind of like who's going to be the odd man out, and I feel like in this game we kind of saw why there aren't a lot of losers, at least up front at the beginning of the season, because everybody really kind of brought something. And I don't know if we're going to be able to keep playing 10 guys every night, but I think I would ideally like to see it more like 8. But if everyone's going to keep bringing something different every night, then keep doing it, I guess.
Looking ahead, they actually play 3 times before we record again. So they all home games, all non-conference home games. They play Friday against Penn, Sunday against Lindenwood, and Tuesday against SIU Edwardsville. So Penn,
gauntlet.
Yeah, Penn actually 182 in KenPom, not an awful team. They lost their first game to a top 100 team in Iona on the road, only scored 50 points in that game. their defense, they only scored 50 points in that game, and their defense is actually worse than their offense. So I think another thing that I want to mention about this first game that I think will play a factor all season, but especially with these overmatched non-conference teams, is Missouri's pace. 82 possessions on the game. Obviously, score 97 points, you're going to have a lot of possessions, but they were getting up and down the court really fast, taking shots in transition. Sean East, especially, I feel like he had a few plays where it was almost like a little bit of a delayed transition drive where he kind of made the defense think that he was going to pull it up and set up the offense, but he just kept going to the basket and scored. So I was really impressed with the pace of play, and I think they'll be able to use that and their athleticism to their advantage against Penn. And then Lindenwood, near the bottom of Division I basketball, and SIU Edwardsville 283 in KenPom, so still pretty inferior opponent. We should see Missouri at a 4-0 start, and their athleticism and pace is just going to overwhelm these teams, I think.
Mm.
And then there's a few more games after that are going to be the same way. This is not a tough slate here, the first 8 or so games.
Yeah, which I'm fine with. Just kind of get the early season jitters out of the way, and kind of, I think Wichita State's really the first probably pretty challenging opponent that we'll see, but even that is a very winnable game.
Missouri did fall in KenPom from, I think they fell like 11 spots from 41 to 52.
Oh, were they as high as 41?
I think at some point, but 52 is where they're at now, and that's almost all because they gave up 91 points and gave up a really high shooting percentage. Are you checking on your Xbox? Is it ready to be picked up?
No.
I guess that's all for basketball. Just it's fun seeing the new guys out there in the black and gold and seeing who contributes. Moving on to football, unfortunately. Man, where to begin with this Kentucky game? I guess we'll start with pregame. It was announced that Coach Drinkwitz had signed an extension to extend his career as the Mizzou head football coach. And before we give our opinions, it was interesting seeing the fan reaction, like on Twitter and stuff, before the game. I think there was a lot of people questioning it. But I would say pretty close to an equal number of people excited and on board before the game started. And I would consider myself easily among the people that was excited and think of this, at least before the Kentucky game, I was thinking, this is cool, lock him up,
Got Blake Baker.
Yep, extended Baker as well, and then followed that up with Drink. He'll be able to tell recruits that he's here long term. There's not going to be any of that opposition recruiting, telling kids that he's going to be out the door next year. And we clearly know the direction of the program for the next 2 or 3 seasons. And at the same time, if things just become an absolute disaster, they will always be able to find the money for the buyout or whatever they need to do.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, it seems like we just didn't really have to do much to be like, okay, more years, extend him. We handled South Carolina, and that was a pretty low bar to clear if you were just going off of like in-season performance.
Top 25 team on the road, Kyle.
I suppose. I mean, hey, I'm not belittling that win at all. It's a good win. South Carolina is a little fraudulent, but I was thrilled with that performance, and I'm definitely not upset that they wanted to lock him up for a few more years. And this is certainly not some kind of ironclad Konza Martin contract that it's gonna put him back for years if things go south, which I don't think they will. But I think it's fair to question, why did they do this? Why did they choose this timing? And I think there's just a lot that goes on and behind the scenes too when you're talking about like professional agents. Obviously, Coach Drinkwitz is represented by Jimmy Sexton, who is overwhelmingly the most well-known agent in college football, and he is a handful. Mm-hmm. He is a wrecking ball when it comes to his clients. And I think sometimes when you've got Jimmy Sexton on you, if you're administration, there's probably just some dissonance that's just you're constantly living with in negotiations, and maybe you're just happy to get it over with, which I guess that's a good agent that's making life hell for administrations he's dealing with. But I'm sure that there's a fair amount of that where they were just like, let's just get this guy out of our face. Coach Drinkwitz has made good relationships with people in the program. He's a good recruiter. He's shown he can get it done in the recruiting trail. We're just locked up our defensive coordinator, and he's off a good win against South Carolina. So let's get this over with. And I always feel like it's a little bit interesting when fans are in outrage over money that isn't theirs to spend. I mean, it's not going to change our lives whatsoever if Coach Drinkwitz is paid $4 million or $6 million.
And there's just countless examples of administrations being able to do what they need to do to move on from a guy if it's not working.
Right. Yep. That'll always be an option.
And this is not like you mentioned, this is not a Conzo Martin contract. This is not a Brian Harsin, Jimbo Fisher.
Yeah.
This is not anything near that. And even with those awful terms, like in the Brian Harsin contract, Auburn still did what they had to do, and they'll be fine off the back of that.
Yeah, and I mean, I can understand concern when you're talking about those kind of contracts because, then you can end up keeping guys longer than you want to just because of the financial implications. But this is not one of those situations where it's like this makes us, it makes him impenetrable and if things go bad. So I think this is perfectly fine, and I'm glad that they are able to tell, recruits long term that he's going to be here long term and all that, like you mentioned. So.
Speaking of recruits, do you think there's anything that Coach is telling the administration that is like information that is not publicly available about specifically how he's feeling about recruits, that he's looking at? Or
like we feel good about this guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like even if, that's what leverage do you have as a coach that's not like already public information? I wonder if there's some confidence there for recruits that we don't know about.
Sure.
Or just like, and it doesn't have to be a guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
I just am curious if that factors in at all.
Yeah. Well, one thing we know about Coach Drinkwitz is he knows how to talk and he knows how to sell a vision. And I remember even after like the Georgia game, it was a close loss, but I remember Coach saying stuff about, this is how I envision the University of Missouri looking, and he knows how to get behind what they're doing and selling what they have going, even if the maybe win-loss record isn't great. And I think that in that position, you're selling the University of Missouri constantly to recruits, but you're selling yourself to administration. And I think he's probably representing himself really well because I know he can do that. And I think that's a great point. I'm sure there's things that are going on behind the scenes that they're in constant communication about that's not public.
Yeah.
And I mean, things get leaked all the time. Like, various journalists and people within just close to the program or alumni, people find stuff out, and people talk within the program. And so I'm sure that's something that I don't think about a lot, but it's a good point. I'm sure that the administration is well informed of the things they feel that Coach feels good about.
Yeah, and he has built a small reputation for not giving up on guys when they verbally commit elsewhere.
Yep.
And he's had some high profile flips towards signing day, or players like Luther Burden who have decommitted from somewhere else and reopened their recruitment. So that's, I don't know, it'd be interesting to see if there was any specific optimism about the 2023 class that maybe influenced this decision. That's something there's no way to know.
Right.
But so with all that being said, Missouri had to play Kentucky, and we predicted a very close game. I think we both picked Mizzou to win, but it was kind of a toss-up. I believe it was announced this was the best attendance in the Drinkwitz era, and maybe like going back to the season before that for a home game. So good to see the crowd show up. Unfortunately, Missouri lost this game 21-17 and continued the trend of basically finding the most incredible, never before seen ways of losing football games. And there were 3+ moments in this game that were head scratching, and one in particular that I have never seen before and will probably never see again. And that was the most pivotal play of the entire game. But before we get there, I don't know how do we think about this Kentucky game? Missouri looked awful. They looked okay, and then everything that could go wrong went wrong.
And for like one drive, they looked great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on with these Kentucky games, man. It seems like every year, or the most years we play Kentucky, there are some like unexplainable occurrences, whether it's just, normal on the field stuff, like normal football stuff that's just like, wow, that's uncommon, or just literal terrible referee performance or bad calls or whatever it is. Seems like all of that happens against Kentucky.
And once again, Missouri football offense starts a game by just doing nothing. How many times this season has the offense gone out there, first drive, 3 and out, look awful, like go backwards a little bit, and just like, we'll take the ball first, and then actually, no, you can have it first and to start the second half.
Exactly. If you watch NFL at all, I feel like good head coaches or good offensive coordinators, maybe even in college, will script a first drive, and a lot of times I feel like you'll see a flurry of scoring at the beginning of games because teams know exactly what they're going to do. They've got every play planned out for every situation, and
they've dissected the defense, in film leading up to this. They know where their spots are going to be.
They literally know what plays they will run going into the game, and so a lot of times you'll see good teams score on their first drive. Missouri is the complete opposite of that. I don't know if they've scored on their first drive all season. That'd be something interesting to look at, actually, because I don't know.
They've, more often than not, they don't get a first down.
They do a couple horizontal passes that are borderline pick sixes or just lost yardage.
Run the ball for -1 and then they punt.
They run on first down a lot, by the way. But that's kind of concerning, considering obviously Coach Drinkwitz is touted as an offensive mind, and it does seem like we really, really struggle in situations where good coaches flourish.
Missouri offense had 6 first half possessions. They came away with 3 points, with 1 made field goal, 3 punts, a fumble, and a turnover on downs. Let's talk about the fumble and the turnover on downs. The fumble pretty early on, Brady Cook scrambling and did a pump fake, lost the ball. It ended up not being a big deal because Kentucky missed the field goal. Still frustrating field position wise to just give him the ball in such a good spot. But it didn't end up hurting anything. What really hurt was the QB sneak that went nowhere on 4th down, and that whole sequence. We were like, when we were talking about the game as it was happening, we were begging for them to just line up and sneak the ball, get the first down
quickly.
Yes, but instead they tried to do a tricky little play where they brought Tyler Macon into the game, and he motioned under center with Brady Cook still in the backfield. Obviously looking like he was going to run a QB sneak, but no, they just were trying to draw him offside, so then they took the timeout.
And they've run that play multiple times. That's on film at least 3 different times this season, like specifically with Tyler Macon coming in there out of nowhere and looking like he's going to run a play. And
they've never snapped the ball.
They've never snapped it.
So, okay, they take timeout, whatever. But then they go right back out there and clearly are going to run a QB sneak with Cook, and they line up and they do it and they get stuffed. And
it was a really, really bad attempt. And
it's so easy to like nitpick the situation there, but I don't feel like it's being nitpicky to be like, you just telegraphed to everyone in the world.
Yeah.
You basically dared Kentucky to gear up for the QB sneak.
Yep.
And then you just went ahead and did it.
Yeah, they had like 4 or 5 players just like directly in the ball. Like,
yeah.
And then so the offensive line just gets blown up.
Yeah.
Brady really doesn't give a good attempt. He kind of like stands straight up almost.
Well,
like,
the offensive line is backing up into him as soon as he gets the ball.
Yeah, there's really nothing he can do. I mean, that should be the easiest play in football. I mean, again, going back to NFL or good offenses, I don't know that this season at least, I don't think I've seen a QB sneak go poorly. I don't think I've seen a single quarterback sneak that doesn't convert at any level.
I've got Trevor Lawrence on multiple fantasy teams, and he is honestly, their offense is good about just hurrying up to the ball, run the sneak, just get the half yard that you need, and move on. And like when Brady Cook lined up to take the snap, and it was obvious to everyone that he was going to sneak it, I was just praying, just pitch it, and you'll
audible this thing. Whenever you see 4 linemen in like a 5-inch space, just
I hate getting so negative about like such a specific play call, but
it was a huge moment,
pivotal.
Yeah,
and
in Kentucky territory.
Yeah,
that was the right call to go for it. They absolutely had to go for it on 4th down, but you just have to find a better way to do that. Got to be a little smarter.
Another weird thing that happened in the first half was the little dust up on the sideline, on the Kentucky sideline, that ended up in a 15-yard penalty on Mizzou. That was I think a situation where you either don't throw a flag or you do offsetting and move on.
Yep.
Because I don't know, it's like we're okay with the bench just like kind of surrounding the opposing player and like yelling at them and like giving them a little, bump and stuff, but then if somebody retaliates, then they get a penalty. And there was just a lot of shoving and stuff happening.
Pretend that you saw everything that happened either.
Exactly.
Like, so just to pin all the blame on one player is just super weird.
Yeah. I mean, I think Landry was dumb for like putting himself in that situation where he was easily identifiable as somebody doing something, like inserting themselves into it. But I don't know. It's just frustrating. Like,
of course, like we somehow knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
And luckily, again,
you could tell early that it was getting chippy. And it was, I think, basically the first play that ended on the sideline turned into a little thing.
Yeah. Luckily, Kentucky missed the field goal on that one also, and so it didn't end up hurting us directly points-wise. But I feel like it almost kind of like ignited the Mizzou defense a little bit. They started playing better after that.
Mizzou defense was awesome in this game.
Yeah, first drive looked a little soft. At least Kentucky kept just like converting those 3rd and longs, which was frustrating.
Kentucky's 3rd down, like all game, was either get sacked or, convert 3rd and
crazy
long.
3rd and 12, yeah. Yep, that was frustrating.
I think they were like 6 of 13 on 3rd down, which is pretty good, especially considering how bad their offensive line was all game.
Yeah.
And I don't know, was Kentucky's offensive line that bad, or I feel like it's a little bit of both. But
yeah, I mean, we knew Kentucky's offensive line is struggled this year.
Missouri's defense made them look worse than they are, I think.
And honestly, credit to Will Levis. And, he's playing through injuries and a god-awful offensive line and still looked pretty good.
He's making good throws out there.
He's legit.
Yeah. What else happened in the first half?
By the way, Kentucky's going to be terrible, like, once Will Levis is gone. They have nobody. I think Chris Rodriguez and Will Levis will be gone next year. So just something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Something to, just put away in your mind somewhere. Just be happy about it.
I can't remember if this was first half or second half, but there was a potential targeting penalty that got picked up.
Yeah.
And I had to, like, dig into the rules a little bit. I think it was the correct call.
Yeah.
What they showed on the TV screen for the rule was a little bit incorrect, but...
Wow, you really know the rule book.
Well, I looked it up because it was bothering me. Because on TV, they didn't say anything about head or neck area. Yeah. And they were just talking about launching.
Thrusting.
Yeah, they were talking about thrusting into the player.
Yeah.
And so I looked it up afterwards, and it definitely does say head or neck area in the rules.
Yeah.
But again,
I was okay with not calling targeting there.
Yeah. I'm being a little salty, but I just kind of think that a little too much thrust. We're still not at a good place with the targeting call.
Okay.
Is all. Because like you're launching into a guy and he's hitting the ground hard enough to get concussed, I don't know. Even if you hit him in the chest, I feel like all you have to do is look like you're actually tackling. This is like maybe kind of boomery of me to say, but like just wrap
There's
up.
Nothing wrong with being a boomer.
That's true. We love our boomers. Wrap up, and you're not gonna have this problem. Like you're never gonna get called targeting. Just about.
I probably agree with that.
Unless you hit him in the head.
What about that bad spot?
That was the next thing I was gonna bring up. 3rd and 1. The score,
Kentucky.
Yeah, Kentucky got the ball 3rd and 1. It's 7-3, and they get stopped at the line of scrimmage.
Might have even lost a little bit of yardage.
Yeah. Worst case scenario, the spot is exactly where it was on 3rd down.
Mm-hmm.
It's 4th and 1. They're definitely punting because it was like back at their own 30-yard line. But the ref just walks up and says, "Nope, 1st down."
Can we talk about the like prehistoric process of the refs like marking the ball, spotting the ball? What are we doing? How is this still how we do this? Like the ref is, this is a pretty large amount of space we're talking about here, like from where the ball is to the sideline where the ref is.
Yeah.
Like he's got to run and he's like doing his arms in the air and stuff. Like he's trying to walk in a straight line, and he couldn't walk in a straight line. I can tell you that. And just gives him the 1st down. Like what?
Yeah.
This is awful.
Yeah.
That was like just blatantly, objectively the wrong call.
Yeah. I've seen things on Twitter where people are showing like how they determine offsides in European like high level soccer. Mm-hmm. And they've got this like 3D model that they can look at where it's like there's this plane where you see like this player's head was just past the defender, so they like confirm that it's offsides.
Like, that technology exists.
And we're using chains on sticks and just eyeballing it.
I always think it's funny too whenever they bring out the measurement and it's like, yep, we can see.
Yeah.
Yep, it's not. Yeah, we knew exactly what was going to happen beforehand.
Yeah, like on TV, we're seeing like orange marker over here and the ball here. And we're like, yeah, it looks like about 6 inches short. And then sure enough, they hold up their hands.
Yeah. I don't really get the chain gang thing, honestly, in the referee spot. But there's got to be a better way we can do this. And honestly, normally they do a pretty decent job. And if there's an egregious example, usually like the coaches are on top of it and can challenge or something like that.
So Coach Drink says in the post-game press conference that he asked the officials and that they told him immediately that there was not a good enough angle to do anything about it. So
which is a lie.
So don't even worry about challenging
I swear to God, somebody's like paying these refs, man. Every time we play Kentucky, like that's some BS. Well, we can't take a look at it because we don't have enough angles.
So I have two thoughts there.
Okay.
One is that's completely made up. Number two is did Coach Drinkwitz make that up because he feels dumb for not challenging the play?
That's honestly very possible. And I kind of thought of that also.
And I honestly don't even know how challenges work in college football. I didn't know you could just like challenge.
Just call a timeout or something.
Yeah. Usually that's how it goes. I feel like you just call a timeout and hope something happens. But that was like the defense knew we just got a huge stop.
Blatant.
The announcers knew.
Yeah, Isaiah McGuire was looking around like, what? Because he was obviously in on the stop. Yeah. He had his hands like physically in the air looking around like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
Yep, that's one that...
And Kentucky goes and scores a touchdown, make it 14-3.
Yeah. That's absolute game changer.
Although, second half, offense wakes up a little bit. Brady Cook starts running the ball, which, why didn't we see that a little bit earlier? We almost just hand off to Schrader 4 times at the goal line and then finally decide, you know what, let's let Brady Cook run it in.
Yeah, so which Schrader would have been stopped again
if
he didn't keep it.
Yeah, it seemed like for whatever reason in this game, we stopped giving Cook the actually the option.
Mm-hmm.
Like it seemed like in the South Carolina game, he was genuinely making reads and making good reads.
Yeah.
And tucking it and picking up 10 or 12 yards here and there.
Well, that was one thing we talked about last week was I don't know that Brady Cook's going to be able to do the option as well because it's on film now because it worked so well against South Carolina. But I agree. It did seem like in the first half, there wasn't even really a lot of plays they were running where he was truly deciding in the moment to keep it or not. It was just a regular handoff. Yeah, I mean, Brady Cook, we know he's not like a dangerous passer at this point. Like he can do it from time to time, but literally one of his best abilities is being able to run. And you have to, with an offense this bad, you have to utilize that at least, I don't know, once a drive or something.
Yeah, I was going to say half a dozen times a game at least. And finally in the second half, they did a little bit, and he had maybe the best play of the season
probably
for him.
Yeah.
Bouncing off a couple defenders and scoring a touchdown on a 20-yard run.
Yep.
And that made the game 17-14 Mizzou.
Yeah, they took the lead on that. Yeah, they always do just enough to like make it really sad when they lose.
Yeah, these are close games. So that brings us to Kentucky scores another touchdown at some point there. I can't remember if there's anything notable.
I think it was just another one of those like unlikely long, like third and long conversions.
Yeah. And
where they scored a touchdown.
It was like the way I was thinking about it in the moment was Missouri's defense had done so well while the offense could do nothing.
Yep.
That of course, as soon as the offense gets the lead, well, it's just time now for the defense to give up a score.
It's like just a microcosm of the last decade of Missouri football where it's like two extremes where the defense is like literally the worst defense in the country and then the offense is really good. And then they just swap. Like this year, now the offense is like one of the worst in the country and the defense is elite.
Yeah.
Like, how can we not just be decent at both at the same time? But they did that in this game.
Yeah.
They just flipped.
So Kentucky makes it 21-17, and they have the ball with a chance to close out the game with about 3 minutes left. And they get stuffed on 3rd and 1, I think, again.
Kentucky.
Yes. Kentucky tries to run the ball. They get absolutely stuffed, driven backwards.
Yep.
It's 4th down. Kentucky is punting to Missouri. Missouri's going to get the ball with about 2.5, 3 minutes left.
And it was like pretty deep in their own territory.
Yeah. Missouri was going to have a decent chance here to go score a touchdown and win the game. And the most incredibly lucky thing happened for Mizzou. Once, finally, in that spot, Mizzou gets a break.
For like 2 seconds.
And the long snapper just catapults it over the punter's head, like actually so far off base that it actually helped the punter, I think.
It did. It definitely did.
It goes to like the 2-yard line or something, and somehow the punter recovers it and gets the punt off and gets tackled so that it's roughing the kicker.
Has that ever happened in the history of football? Like that exact scenario where it's like he's not an eligible runner because he kicked it.
Yeah.
It went like 30 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah. So obviously like the emotions there in such a short amount of time are just gesundheit.
And he gets the kickoff and it goes out of bounds at like Kentucky's like 25-yard line or something like that. Just like amazing field position for Missouri.
Yes. Just wiped out. The ball's sailing over his head, and in that moment it's like, oh my gosh, this could be a touchdown for Missouri. Worst case scenario, we're going to like have the ball at the 10-yard line or better of Kentucky.
Yeah, worst case.
And then he picks up the ball and punts it, and it's like, okay, well, that is wild that happened, but we're still going to get the ball in Kentucky's side of the field.
Incredible field position.
Awesome opportunity here to go win the game. And then even then, no, 1st down Kentucky. Just Just ridiculous.
15-yard penalty. You can't even blame Will Norris, man.
No.
I mean, he really did exactly all you can do. I mean, he can't just like avoid the like, oh, he punted it and just like get out of the way really fast. Like, I mean, I physically don't know what else you can do if you're him.
The only thing you can do is always go for the ball, no matter what. Like, don't ever. But that's not something you're gonna work on.
Or just like try and anticipate that he might just turn around and punt this really fast.
I mean, I tell you now, every player on Missouri's special teams knows what to do in that situation.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't even think. A lot of times, I don't even want them to try and block the punt.
Right.
I just want them to just back up.
Don't let the punter run for a first down. Like, basically play like fake punt, safe punt return, call a fair catch.
Yes, every punt.
Yeah.
Please do not lose us the ball on a special teams play or get a penalty.
Play like they're going to fake it. Protect the return man. Call fair catch.
Yep.
Let the offense go out there.
Yep.
That's a weapon of a special teams unit if you're doing that.
Yeah, literally just don't lose the ball, and I'm happy. Yeah, so that's like maybe one of the weirdest ways we've ever lost a game, and we've lost in some weird ways.
Yeah, Missouri actually got the ball back. The defense made a stop and got the offense the ball back with like a chance for 2 plays. And what even happened there?
Like Luther Burden caught like a 40-yard pass, but like Mitchell Walters was holding.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yep, and that's I mentioned earlier that Missouri's defense made Kentucky's offense look worse than they are. Missouri's offense made Kentucky's defense look way better than they actually are.
Yep. Well, we've done that all year.
Yeah.
We made Vanderbilt's defense look good.
Yeah, but like the announcers were saying like, oh, this is a real defensive struggle. It's like, no, like one of these defenses is pretty good. The other one is going up against an inept offense.
Yeah.
Missouri's defense had 11 tackles for loss for the 3rd straight game.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
They're still fighting, man. They're playing hard.
That's true, and honestly, the way they've lost these games this year, they're so close to having a really good record. Like, flip this game in Auburn, and we're talking about, absolutely you extend Drinkwitz. Absolutely. This is...
Like, literally flip a couple of these close games, and, like, they're having, like, a 7-8 win season.
Yeah. So you gotta think that we'll, not have such awful things happen in another season, maybe, and things will normalize a little bit.
I've been thinking that for years. I was thinking that in the Barry Odom era. Like, surely we're gonna like due for some regression here, as far as like just the most insane stuff in the world happening, and then it just has kept happening. Like, I remember. I mean, I don't want to get carried away with this, but remember like the South Carolina game in the Barry Odom era where it was just like a literal hurricane just out of nowhere, and we like lost. We just started playing terrible. Like, I mean, I've been thinking about these just like this would never happen in a million years to anyone else. I've been thinking that for like 5+ years now, so maybe it just is always going to keep happening. Probably a little bit of negativity bias in there too, but
it's all gonna come together. We're gonna get all of our,
ducks in a row.
Yeah, the karma is going to turn around. I don't know what I'm trying to say exactly, but the inverse of this, we're due for it.
We are, but it won't happen.
I'm trying to manifest
it
into like, maybe...
I agree.
Maybe 2 seasons from now or something is when it all comes together. We are the beneficiary of like insane things.
Well, I mean,
good calls.
I was thinking after the South Carolina win, like, wow, we didn't have any just crazy, weird things happen. I mean, that might be the only game all year. There was just like something I've never seen before didn't happen. It was just a normal game where we played well for most of the game. And then Kentucky happened. And we took 49 steps backwards on the weird scale. But somehow this loss was less brutal than the missed field goal against Auburn. Somehow, for some reason, that will just That'll just be traumatizing for my whole life. I don't know why.
That's interesting that you multiple times have mentioned the missed field goal, but
yeah, that really messed me up.
The Pete fumble sticks out more to me. I mean, both of those happening in the same game is wild.
Those happening in 5-minute intervals.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like a missed field goal. Okay, yeah, whatever.
I guess when I'm saying the missed field goal, I'm kind of just like saying the Auburn game in general. Yes, but I mean, I sat there for 30 minutes, like unable to move my body.
Yeah.
That was just like the closest thing to death.
Feeling like physical effects of shock. Like you just got in an accident or something.
Yeah. My body was like, it's like the equivalent of a car accident after that.
So Missouri is 4-5 now on the season, 2-4 in the SEC. Only above Vanderbilt, who is winless in conference play. Florida is also 2-4. Who did they just beat? They looked good against Texas A&M, maybe?
Who?
Florida.
Yeah.
They looked good.
Yeah, Texas A&M had like 30 players out with the flu.
Texas A&M is 1-5 in SEC play, 3-6 on the season.
That's pretty good.
Man, I want to see what they do.
$1 billion coach.
Yeah. We'll get to that.
We'll get to that. We always do.
For Missouri, we get the treat of playing Tennessee, who is 8-1 on the season, coming off their first loss to Georgia. Lost that game 27-13. They still have the best offense in the country. Run through it real quick. Hendon Hooker, incredible quarterback, 2,500 yards, 21 touchdowns, 2 interceptions on the season, 71%. 71
completion percentage.
Yeah, his completion percentage is 71%.
That's good. That's really, really good.
That's incredible. Like Heisman.
Does Josh Heupel know what he's doing?
I think he has figured something out on offense.
Has he proved that at this point? He knows how to run offense?
I don't know. I mean, yes, but it'll be interesting to see what happens when they have to move on to the next quarterback.
These players are good.
Yeah. Yeah, he's finally, like, the recruiting classes that Tennessee just always ends up with, as far as like their
finally
ranking. Yes, they're actually getting production. They're getting 5-star production out of these 5-star players. Yeah,
they were showing a graphic actually with Dominic Lovett's production this year comparatively to, is it Jalen Hyatt?
Jalen Hyatt, yeah.
And I mean, Dominic Lovett is having like an all SEC type of season.
Worth mentioning, 0 catches for 0 yards against Kentucky.
I actually didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
That's concerning.
Yeah.
Anyways, he's probably like 3rd in the SEC in receiving yards.
Even with the goose egg.
He still has like, 700-ish receiving yards and 2 touchdowns on the season. And then it shows Jalen Hyatt. He's got like 900 yards receiving and 14 touchdowns.
Yeah. And he didn't really do anything in the Georgia game.
Bro is like Mike Evans or something all of a sudden.
Yeah. He's incredible.
Yeah, he's good.
They also have 2 really good running backs. Jabari Small is still there, and Jalen Wright. They basically just split time 50-50, and one of them is always fresh. One of them seems to always be on, and most of the time they both are. Their offensive line is good. It's like basically exactly what we would need the Missouri offensive line to be. Just like good enough to make everything run smoothly.
You trade our offensive line for Tennessee's?
I would, believe it or not. But it's like Tennessee's offensive line, I don't think, it's not like they're not going to have like first round NFL draft picks come out of this.
Yeah, okay. They're not Kentucky's from last year necessarily.
Yeah, or like your Alabama offensive line that they usually have. But they are
good enough,
very much good enough to make everything work for this offense.
Well, they're kind of like up tempo, like get the ball out quick anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, that takes a little bit of pressure off the offensive line, but I don't know. It's good, good synergy all around for that offense. Defensively, Tennessee not incredible, but it's interesting how their offense plays a part in that because. In SEC play, Tennessee's defense is 12th in passing yards per game allowed and second in rushing yards per game allowed. But that has a lot to do with getting up early and teams having to abandon the running game and just throw the ball a million times to try to catch up.
Yep.
Missouri ought to be good at that.
No.
Oh, the opposite, actually.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
I'm interested to see Missouri's defense against an actually elite offense. And, they had some moments against Kentucky. And, Will Levis is probably the best quarterback they'll face this year. Obviously, Tennessee, significantly better offense as a whole. So that probably makes it a lot more difficult because you can't really just key in on anything like you can against Kentucky. I don't know. I guess I wouldn't be terribly surprised if Missouri kind of puts up a fight in this game. It is on the road in one of the craziest environments they'll play in all year.
Is there an emotional dip for Tennessee coming off the Georgia loss?
A little narrative play there. That's possible. I think if they beat Georgia, then maybe they're thinking like, okay, we are national title contenders here. They still are, but we have to just keep winning every game. Maybe they're already doing that anyway. Maybe they're thinking we got to win every game to get back into the playoff contention. Yeah,
but now their destiny is tied to needing Georgia to lose a game. And
I don't know that the on-field performance will be like close enough for the narratives to come into play at all. But you never know. I think Missouri will hold their own, but it's still not going to be competitive by the end of the game. Are you ready for me to make a prediction?
Well, yeah, basically. You think how much can Missouri's defense slow down this Tennessee offense? Marginally, or
not like Georgia, but I think they'll slow. I don't think Tennessee will score like 50 plus or anything like that. Unless the only thing that could mean if Missouri's offense is so bad that they're just doing 3 and outs all day, then maybe Tennessee does score 50 plus because they just have the ball all game.
Yeah, I'm trying to think like Missouri wins this game and there's just too many things that would have to go wrong for Tennessee. Missouri keeps this game close if the defense shows up and the offense. Tennessee's defense is not anything special. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. Missouri's offensive line is just not good enough to keep them in these games. Yeah.
I think Missouri actually goes up 3-0 to start the game and then loses 42-13.
Yeah, I think Missouri's going to lose. I think Missouri's defense keeps them under 40. Give me 34 to 21.
Ooh.
Maybe a garbage time touchdown for Missouri.
I'd probably take that.
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting to see like Chris Abrams-Drain and Ennis Rakestraw versus some of these like NFL wide receivers. Basically, I think Tennessee's got 2 different wide receivers that will be drafted highly this offseason. So they've got playmakers all over, but especially I think those will probably be the 2 matchups I'm interested in, and obviously the defensive line is always fun to watch. They can make things happen. Not impossible. Missouri hung with Georgia.
That's true.
Anything can happen in college football.
That game was at home, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to go out to Knoxville and do anything significant. Missouri probably going to lose this one, but
hey, at least Arkansas is looking winnable.
That's the thing. 2 wins away from bowl eligibility. 1's pretty much guaranteed against New Mexico State. And we are setting up 2 5-win teams meeting the last game of the season on Black Friday to see if one of them can go to a bowl game.
See if one of them can.
Yeah. All right, we're predicting a loss. Oh, well. What are you going to do? Tennessee's good, as much as it hurts. Let's pick the rest of the SEC slate. Producer Cameron, take it away.
To recap last week, Cameron scored 6 points. I scored 6. The guest pickers scored 4, and Kyle scored 3. That brings our season totals to Cameron has 50. Guest pickers have 58.
God.
Kyle has 60. I have 65.
Not a great week for me.
I thought I was making a move and then literally still 8 points behind third place. Cool. I'm ready though. There's quite a few games this week.
Could be some good games.
Mm-hmm.
Our first game is number 7 LSU at Arkansas. LSU is a 3.5 point favorite.
I'll take LSU.
Same.
Oh wait, who's our guest picker? Matt.
Yeah.
Welcome in.
Tilly. Give me LSU. They just beat Alabama.
Yeah,
And Arkansas just lost to Liberty.
that is true.
And they're favored by 3.5.
LSU is,
Yes.
but it's at Arkansas.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
I'll take LSU.
Give me LSU.
LSU.
Their quarterbacks look pretty good this year. Just beat Alabama. Oh.
Matthew takes Arkansas.
Oh,
Ooh.
interesting. Okay, thank you.
Next up is Vanderbilt at Kentucky. Number 24, Kentucky. Kentucky is
You
a
just had to add that part, didn't you?
18 point favorite.
Oh.
I'll take Kentucky.
Yeah.
Yep. Everyone's on Kentucky.
Poor Vanderbilt.
Should have beat us.
Yeah, when's the next time they're going to win a conference game?
Not this year.
They're going to need what? Like they would have needed to play like Arkansas this year maybe? Like they had their chance against Missouri and blew it. Arkansas might have been the next best option.
Next up is number 9, Alabama at number 11, Ole Miss. Alabama is a 12 point favorite.
Ole Miss playing for the SEC West.
Yeah, they have lost one game.
LSU has lost one conference game, but 2 games total. So.
Oh, okay. You're talking about. Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Ole Miss has maybe not had a super tough schedule so far and kind of lost their one game against someone that was decent. So I'm going to pick Alabama. Not quite fraudulent, but just maybe not quite ready to win the big game yet, you know?
I'll take Alabama.
Has anybody picked Ole Miss?
Matthew picked Ole Miss.
Okay, I'll take Alabama. I'm just determined. My only goal now is to not finish 4th.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Next up is South Carolina at Florida. Florida is an 8 point favorite. Give me Florida.
Yeah. Yeah, I got to go Florida.
Anybody? What would Matt do?
Florida.
Where's it being played?
Florida.
Florida. I'll take Florida. Not giving me any opportunities here.
Number 1, Georgia at Mississippi State. Georgia is an 18 point favorite.
Mississippi State's sneaky good, actually, but still pretty easy pick for me. Got to go Georgia. Georgia. They say? Do they say that?
Yeah.
Does anyone say that?
I think somebody does.
Georgia.
Something like that. Yeah, Georgia.
Everybody on Georgia.
Makes sense.
Texas A&M at Auburn. Auburn is a 1.5 point favorite.
Now here's a game. This is going to be quite a football game.
This is the game of just clown show, man.
I'm going to be rooting for Auburn pretty significantly.
Are you?
I'm not going to watch this game. I'm going to be honest with everyone. But if I look at the score or something, I'm going to be hoping that Auburn is winning.
Do you just hate Jimbo? What has Jimbo done to you, Cameron?
You know, I don't know, but I hate him. And it's a strong word, but
I hope he doesn't get a hold of this. Because
He's got the resources to come after
he
anybody.
definitely does.
Even someone
Even
of
you.
my stature.
I don't know. You're probably taller than him.
Yeah, what do you like? 6'1", 6'2"?
I go missing tomorrow. That
Would be really
college
fast.
The college
considering-
football world would be turned on its head. Jimbo goes missing. I don't know if anybody's gonna notice.
I'll agree with that.
I mean, they could have a Jimbo Fisher impersonator
they
come
probably
in
win
and
the
they
game.
win more games. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
Jimbo Fisher goes missing. They improve.
Do they even care? I would love
No.
to hear from a Texas A&M fan.
The fans care.
What are the fans thinking right now?
The fans are the only people that care.
Are they done with him? Or do they understand the financial situation that they're tied to him for the rest of his life?
That probably makes them hate him more.
Yeah.
He's stealing from them.
I'm with the A&M fans.
We stand
on
with
this
A&M.
one. Yeah. Get rid of him.
The fans.
Yeah. Get rid of the fans. No, get rid of Jimbo. Bankrupt your university to buy him out.
He couldn't just go by Jim or James.
You don't... Maybe Jimbo is his legal name.
I don't care. Go by
Oh.
Jim.
Even if, yeah.
Yes.
Let's
What
find out what his legal name is.
What an idiot.
His name is John James Fisher Jr. John James...
Fisher.
John... Yeah, that's his name.
What is that doing in there? That's
John
his
James
middle name?
Jimbo Fisher Jr. No, Jimbo Fisher.
I'm an idiot. Give me...
His last name is Junior.
Okay. His last name... Yeah, I was just thinking like that wasn't the last word you said, so it isn't his last name. What's Fisher doing in there? Okay. Yeah, after all that, I'm going to probably take A&M.
Same.
Oh, what did Matt pick?
A&M.
I'll do the opposite, I
Okay,
guess.
hold on a second now.
Oh,
Hold on a moment.
you trying to change your pick?
I'm not.
Gosh dang it. Cameron is way in the lead, and he's picking all the right teams.
No. Who are they playing even?
Auburn.
Auburn's going to win this game.
Auburn's terrible.
Give me Auburn.
Give
me Auburn or give me death.
No, you're going to die.
No. I'm not going missing.
Where's it at?
Auburn.
Pick A&M.
Okay, I'll pick Auburn.
Oh, okay, with me. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
We got to take this dude down somehow, even if it's picking the wrong teams, I guess.
Is that it?
Unfortunately, no. Last game is Nebraska at number 3, Michigan. Michigan is a 31-point favorite. Holy crap.
Unfortunately, no. Yeah, give me...
Michigan, please.
Yeah.
And thank you.
Yep.
30, how many?
31.
Jeez. Michigan number 3 in the country.
Mm-hmm.
They're fraudulent. They're not going to win the Big Ten championship. That's my prediction. But they're going to win this game, though.
Yep.
I'll take Michigan.
Good pick.
Is that it?
You'll get at least one right this week.
Yeah, that's
Cam.
it. There's a little bit of variance.
Yeah, I thought that with that many games, I thought I'd have an opportunity to really do something.
We'll see.
Any last words about the Tennessee game? Any real words of encouragement for the players going into this matchup or
MRC.
anything? Okay. What about the fan base? Any notes for us?
Still got Arkansas and New Mexico State. Still got 2 wins left on the schedule. Just got to suffer through this one. And just keep in mind, Kentucky will suck for another decade after this year.
That's true. That's a fact.
Yeah.
I guess that's it for this week. Thanks everybody for listening. Special thank you to our Patreon supporters, including Tim. Sorry, Tim, I tried to work this into the actual show, but I couldn't do it. Sometimes you got to kiss the homies goodnight, bro. Thank you to our Patreon supporters at the $10 level and above: Britt Treese, Brian Smith, Ryan D. Tristan, Ben Smith, Parker, Daddy JD, Luis Hernandez, Tim Keynes, Tyler Harsel, Brandon Groffalo, Brandon Hanks. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. You can find this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. We're on Twitter at Mizzou Sports Pod, and you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
You can find our t-shirts and stickers on our online shop, MissouriSportsPod.BigCartel.com.
I wrote it down to try to fit it in somewhere.
Just never came up, huh?
Man, I was trying.
I mean, we We dance around it every week, but just this week couldn't fit it in.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for listening. We will see you next week.